The Marvel Cinematic Universe is back with a new installment, and Hulu has a fantastic documentary. That's all tonight on Real to Real Talk.
Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy it, whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's once again time to talk movies. Joining me, as always, are Susan Chisholm and Paul Britton, the other Real to Real Talkers. Guys, the MCU just keeps churning out films as we enter Phase 4 with Black Widow.
Yes.
Indeed.
If you're going to do 9 or more movies in your series, you follow the Marvel method. That's just my opinion. You know,
The Marvel method?
the Marvel method. That's the way you go. You just keep plugging out great content and make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Rather than
unless you come up against the anomaly that is me. But we will talk about that as tonight we will take a look at Black Widow, the newest Marvel Cinematic Universe release, the beginning of Phase 4, and what has been a very successful almost 12 years of films. Black Widow quickly passing F9 in terms of money. Opening weekend was over 79 million. And very strong opening, which was to be expected because these films tend to do very well when they open. But particularly this character, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, portrayed by Scarlett Johansson. This movie has been a long time coming, not just because of pandemic, but because of fans' love for this particular character. So I'm excited, guys, to talk about this film tonight.
Yeah. And I do want to
awesome.
I do want to say that the 80 million is really good. It's amazing when you consider that people, like families, could just like plop down $30 and stay home and watch it on Disney Plus. Like yeah, sure. Okay, fine. I went to a theater because I'd rather be in a theater. That's why I got vaccinated. I literally got vaccinated to go to movies, but not literally, but like that's definitely high.
That's a big reason.
Yeah, it's a really big reason.
No, absolutely. And you know, it's one of those things where this movie, I definitely want to see in the theater because you're right. I got a big screen TV and all, but nothing is ever going to compare to that theater experience that this kind of movie deserves. And so I totally get that. Where I struggle, and I'll just go ahead and put this out there because I have a feeling that my rating of this movie might shock people, is something that I have talked to friends about, and that's that I'm so stuck on completion of story that it's been tough for me post Endgame to really enjoy anything that the MCU has put out, whether on Disney Plus or in terms of their content there and or films of this type. So I'm really trying to get out of my own head about like, hey, it all ended with Endgame, and so therefore everything post this is really not necessary. And so I will say that my view of this film will be unfortunately tainted by that thought.
Yeah, you've gone on record as saying, well, I've seen Endgame, I'm done. I'm tapping out. I'm done
Multiple
forever.
times.
I thought I was okay to start eating badly again. So
I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand just saying I am done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe because I have seen Endgame and I don't want to see any more. It's like, oh yeah, sure.
Honestly, I think it has everything to do with the fact that I'm not a comic book fan, meaning that because I am only familiar with these characters through the movies, the way in which the first 22 movies put a story together for us and had that definite end to a story, right? Everything since then is heavily based on other comic book aspects that I'm not familiar with. And so I struggle with getting to like it. And I know that's my own deal, right? My friend Nick Kramer, he always tells me, you got to keep watching these shows. You stop after 1 or 2 episodes and you're like, meh. And so the guilt is mine because I don't finish the programs or whatever they're putting out. And so, again, I'll just be honest from the outset that that's definitely going to play a factor in how I enjoyed this film. So, but I feel like I need to be honest about that anytime we talk about a Marvel movie from here on out.
Okay.
Not just the Marvel movies, but Marvel anything, like,
Right.
WandaVision was something we brought up not very long ago. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I have a deep enough of appreciation of the comic book world of it because I've never really read them. So,
but the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it has presented to you without you needing that past history. Like, there at no point, so do you think that's different now? Do you think that,
yeah, because Iron Man's dead, dude. Like,
what's that?
I said, yeah, because Iron Man's dead. Again, I don't pretend to be able to explain it.
Okay.
It's just there's a closure piece for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough for me to get past that and want to invest more in characters I'm not familiar with. So
okay,
it's just something I'll be the first to say it because you guys will as well, whether you say it to me or not. I need to get over that.
Okay.
I need to find it in myself to get over it. So
yeah, there are more movies coming, 2 more this year.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about them. You can't just tap out. Like, unless
right. Yeah.
Unless
be the
you
last
kick
time
me
I
off
can
the
use that
show and say, all right, Paul, we don't want to talk about Marvel movies.
No.
So,
Susan's like,
I mean,
hey.
That's an option? What?
Getting kicked off the show?
I mean, you can kick me off the show too. That'd be fine. I'd be like, oh.
No. The MCU is going to keep churning out films. In fact, I looked at the Phase 4 titles, and some of it is stuff that I'm like, okay, well, I don't know anything about this character, so I got to go in with it like I would any movie that I'm not familiar with. So, So I'm sure it'll change. I think that my reaction to this film that we're going to talk about was such that I was like, I need to really face up to this and somehow get past it because it did affect my enjoyment of the film. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, our friend Janine is saying, I remember him very passionate about comics and movies. She agrees with you, Paul.
Yes.
On your assessment.
And she wants us to keep talking about Marvel movies. Love
absolutely.
Them. See? You got to give the people what they want. They want Marvel talk.
Yes. So that will continue for sure. So, Susan, you came at this film with minimal experience in terms of the character, right?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Very, very minimal.
So we're once again going to have that perspective of someone who went into this movie cold, practically, right? And it'll be interesting to get your insight into that. So at the start, guys, this character is a very compelling character. Mm-hmm. First introduced in Iron Man 2, Natasha Romanoff ends up becoming one of my favorite characters in the entirety of the MCU for reasons of not just the action that comes with her role in the films, but also the story arc that we eventually see her go through all the way through the end of the first 22 films.
Yeah.
And so I was excited to get a film that wasn't an origin story. Paul, as we get started on this conversation about Black Widow, talk a little bit about what your expectations were and what were you looking forward to when you first heard that this movie was going to be made as a standalone?
So my expectations were obviously semi-driven by the fact that I do know a bit about the comics, and I knew that we were going to be introduced to sort of Black Widow's arch nemesis, Yelena Bednova, who she, came up in ranks. I don't know all of the details of the comics. I don't believe they were like actually a family unit one time in the comics. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that they were very close together. And then when Black Widow left, it was very personal for Yelena, and so I kind of anticipated getting that kind of backstory. So I actually was expecting, even though you said, oh, you were looking forward to seeing a movie that wasn't an origin story, I was actually expecting a little bit of origin story here. Like, some of that, but more an origin story on how it ties in with Yelena and realizing that she's sort of going to take over that Black Widow role as the, arch assassin, martial arts, female character. And and my expectations, I didn't know what to expect. I assumed that, I always felt like when I heard this movie's coming out, I was like, I don't know how they're going to tie this in with like phase 4. I don't know. Like, they're saying it's kicking off phase 4, and I still, to this moment, I'm not sure how this is going to tie, like, other than, hey, here's Yelena Bednova. You're going to get a lot of her over the next, 8 to 22 films. I don't know how this ties in with, the 10 rings. I don't see it. And I definitely don't see how it ties in with the Eternals. It clearly ties in more with what was being done with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and less with what was going on with WandaVision and the Loki. So, because Marvel's going in two directions right now. There's one direction, which is the Scarlet Witch Loki, which is like we're getting into the multiverse. There's multiple realities, just deal with it. And then the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and some of those characters, Hawkeye is going to be in that group, obviously, now too. Those characters are going to be dealing with the aftermath of Steve Rogers gone, Black Widow gone, everything that happened in the first 22. And like, I'm really excited to see how those two worlds converge several films in the future.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's the thing that I was kind of hyper aware of, is that as the movie ends and we get the post-credit scene, it's like, okay, which direction will this go? Will it go into a series on Disney Plus, or will it go into it? Florence Pugh, no doubt, very talented. I just don't see Yelena being able to carry or being the focal piece of a film series, I guess is where I was thinking. So, but hey, who knows?
And
who knows?
Black Widow never had to be.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of see like what you're saying. I think that it's probably going to end up in like a series on Disney Plus. I don't think it's going to go into more movies, to be honest. It just didn't feel that way to me.
The end of the summer, we're getting a Hawkeye series.
Yeah. And that makes sense with what the post-credit scene sets up. Yeah. Hawkeye, one of my absolute favorite characters as well. And that's the thing. This movie, when you think of the timing of where it lands in the overall arc, when you think, well, let me do it this way, Paul. Do you think, and I'm asking Paul because you're familiar with the entire series, do you think that the pandemic in any way hurt the placement of this film, having to push it out so far, or is it was just such an anticipated character view that it had no impact?
What hurt the placement of this movie was not the pandemic didn't hurt. The failure to make this movie when it should have been made hurt. Okay. Like that's what hurt. This movie should have been made within a year of Civil War being made. Yeah. And for whatever reason, Marvel just felt like, oh, we can't put all that on this character. And just such a bad decision. Like that is the one thing I will be absolutely critical of them on, is that it's a great, I really enjoyed the story, but we should have gotten it 3 years ago. Yeah. It's just, so.
Yeah, anyone who goes back now and watches the series from Iron Man forward, if they choose to, you have to slot this movie where it belongs.
Yeah, right after Civil War.
Exactly. And so, but if there are things that I loved about it, it was, that it told a story that fit right in to the overarching, Avengers storyline. And so forth. But yeah, that was the thing I was struck by, was that it was too long in coming, and that was part of it. So Susan, you go into this film as a standalone. Talk a little bit about what you were looking forward to before we get into talking about our thoughts on it. What were some of your thoughts before you started watching this film?
Honestly, I wasn't really sure what to expect, because going into it cold, as you put it. You know, I had been exposed to the character a couple of different times, briefly, I might add, because I didn't get to see the previous, 22 movies. I think I've seen like 2 of them, if we're completely honest, three of them. But I mean, I was expecting it to be kind of less of a coming home and more of a hey, this is how we ended up where we are. I don't know. I just didn't make anything in my head, like preconceived notions about what I was thinking it was going to be. I just went into it like, here we go, let's enjoy a movie.
That's good. I like that. I like that you went into it just being like, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy this on its own merits. And I think of any Marvel movie that came out after Iron Man 2, this is the one that you could do that with and not really be totally lost.
Yeah.
So works out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, there were probably some things that were said early on that you were probably sitting there going, I don't know what that's about, but okay.
Right.
But the fact that that line was said in I think of a line that was said by Ross very early on, you could at least deduce from the action on the screen that, okay, they're after her.
Oh,
right? And so anybody who hasn't seen any of the other films, they may not know the intricacies of the dialogue and what it's referring to, but you can tell overall what's going on in this story and what's happening. And so, yeah.
Absolutely.
And the overall plot is very much like not about anything that happens through it. It's really just about this one character and not about the universe, under an umbrella, Yeah.
It's sorry guys, I'm having to deal with something that started playing by itself. Sorry.
Oh my.
All right.
I was like, who's joining us on this program?
No. Between that and my light turning on its own, hey,
Oh no, aliens.
So as we begin our look at this film from a standpoint of reviewing it, let's talk first about the cast. Russian accents aside.
Okay. So we're just kicking that to the
We don't
curb.
need to kick it to the curb, but it's worth commenting on because it's quite humorous.
Okay.
There were some things.
I love bad Russian accents. I'm just going to be on record as saying that right off the bat. I love bad Russian accents. If I could just hear just random people say moose and squirrel, I'm happy. I just I love the bad Russian accent.
Yeah, there's a person that we mutually know that does a really good one. Susan has what's called Svetlana mode. And, so
no, I'm not doing that. Oh no, that's not gonna happen. No, sir.
But yeah, so future episodes, your fans are going to start. In fact, if comment on our social media, and maybe you can convince Susan to do her Russian accent.
You have to tell. Okay, you have to tell me what to say though. I'm not saying moose and squirrel. That's no. Well, they got it. Come back to it later on.
We'll have you do your rating for this movie in your Russian accent.
There you go.
But no, so the accents were, yes, they were quite creative. They took some liberties. Paul, what'd you say?
Yeah, sure. But
creative. Yeah.
It is what it is. It's okay. It is what it is. I knew going in there were going to be bad Russian accents, and so there you go. So I was ready for it.
You're ready for it.
Yeah.
This cast had a lot of fun working together. You can tell the dynamic that each of these actors brings, the way in which the characters came to life. I mean, you're used to, if you watch the series, and you're used to the work that Scarlett Johansson brings to this role, but Florence Pugh added some humor in her portrayal of Yelena that was so perfect because it was a foil that I don't think we'd ever thought we'd see. The entire sequence about the pose and how that kept recurring.
Yeah.
Brilliant and beautifully brought to life by Florence Pugh. even in in the sequence where she does it herself. It's just it's one of those rewarding moments from this film that
Right.
that only comes because of Florence Pugh's portrayal of Yelena and that sort of issue she has with Natasha, right?
Right.
And it's that kind of commitment to the role that really came through from everyone that was in this film. Talk a little bit about the actors, guys, and who stood out for you in a movie that was definitely a Scarlett Johansson vehicle. Who else do you feel stood out in this film?
I did. Yeah, go ahead, Susan. Sorry.
No, I think Florence Pugh stole the show completely. Like it was getting to the point where I was like, whose movie is this? Who is this about?
Yeah.
Is this about Black Widow? Is this about Yelena? I mean, like it was really, I think she just did a phenomenal job on everything that she did. She's very convincing. She's very like animated, and I loved it a lot. I think I was like, I'm more a fan of her than Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, she is absurdly talented. And I'm just super excited about watching her for the next 9 to 22 movies. I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited that at the later this year we're going to get to see her in a Hawkeye series. Like when I was a kid, Hawkeye was my favorite character, and so like I'm super excited about that. David Harbour, I love him.
He's awesome.
I love him in anything he does, and just in Stranger Things, so good, so much fun. And I mean, Rachel Weisz is one of the greatest living actors we have today.
Oh yeah,
like top 20 at least, maybe top 10.
Indeed.
Could
top
be
10.
in conversation for top 5. Like she is remarkable, and my only complaint is they did not give her enough to do. Like they had Rachel Weisz, and they definitely did not give her enough to do. But I mean, look, like you said, Florence Pugh stole the show. It was the Yelena movie with, as told by
guest starring
Black
Widow.
Yeah. So, and that's okay. Like that, that was not surprising. Like it was surprising to the extent that, oh, well, we know Black Widow, so we expect Black Widow. But, once the movie got into the swing, immediately it was like, oh, okay. Like that, the opening scene is phenomenal. Like that opening, the where they're the sleeper cell in the United States and they need to get out. Fantastic. Loved that, so.
It definitely starts out with a strong action sequence that doesn't let up as time goes on. There were moments of the film that, for me, from a story standpoint, sort of slowed things down a little too much. We continue to see some great names being added to the MCU. I've long been a fan of Ray Winstone, and I think that Dreykov just wasn't enough of a role for him, but for what he got, he portrayed it well, and I was very much pleased by the little bit that we got to see him, and of course the actor who played the Taskmaster, his daughter. Let me look up the name. Olga Kurylenko.
Yeah. Do I know her from anything?
I was looking.
Oh, Quantum of Solace. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And so, there were some neat little additions in terms of, characters and so forth in this film. And I think partly that's where this movie felt sort of spread out over a lot of space for me. And I'm used to Marvel movies being very tight, very focused on particular characters and so forth. This was a lot going on for what was supposed to be a story that was to be focused on Black Widow. But I don't know. There was so much other stuff that redeemed it for me. The way in which Kate Shortland, the director, really put a spotlight on the focus on the women was so important in this film that it really allowed for some fantastic themes to play out. That sense of camaraderie, of supporting one another, lifting one another up. I mean, the scene, with the Taskmaster where the widows, I won't give too much away, but there's a lot that was done that made the story overall nice. Where for me, that's great. There were some action pieces that for me, I was like, it didn't feel big. That's where it fell short for me, is this movie just didn't ever get to that feel of feeling like a big epic thing.
Well,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Interesting. my counter to that would be this was not a superhero movie. This was a spy movie. Like this was, early Mission Impossible. This was, this was a spy movie and very much followed, a James Bond, type of flow of bad guy we don't we're looking for and we need to find, and he's doing things that that are pulling the strings in the that's what this was. I mean it was not a grandiose sort of life and death. It was just like here are some spies and they are doing spy shit.
The moment in the movie though that made me maybe caused the moment of not confusion, but just I'm not sure what's happening here. Red Guardian is supposed to be the same in terms of a super soldier character, right? Because I mean he turns over that huge vehicle. So that's what I'm saying is there's those small elements that are like, okay, all right, I see where we're going, but then I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's staying small, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to say, I kind of feel what you're talking about, because it felt like I'd always, to me, felt like that we were on the edge of something that was going to happen and it was going to be awesome and huge, and it just didn't. But I mean, there were definitely a lot of elements that, like you said, that where it could have been so much bigger. And I think that's maybe I did go into it with a little bit of expectation. I was expecting kind of like an Avengers style, like, with a lot of stuff going on and a lot of everything. And there was a lot of, there were a lot of downtime moments. Yeah. That makes sense.
I think, yeah, no, it does, because and this is for myself and Paul, I'll want your thoughts too, of course. Like I was trying to, in the days after I saw it, I was trying to say, okay, of the width and breadth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what movie can I line this up against and say, yeah, this was as good as this film? And I was struggling trying to get there. So, Paul, where would you line this up in terms of, the strength of this movie, the strength of its story and its action? What are there any of the films that you would compare it to and say this is what level it reached?
Yeah, I mean, it's in like, so obviously you can't look at any of the Avengers movies.
Right.
You can't look at the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because it's not to that scale. It's not, and it's not meant to be that scale. So you have to look at, and you can't even look at Captain America Civil War. You have to look at Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. You have to look at the first Captain America, and you have to look at the first two Thor movies, and maybe I guess Black Panther, but Black Panther had so much else going on that I'm not even going to bring that in. So I mean, those are the ones that's the scale that it's on, and I think it was better than both of the Thor movies for sure. I think it was better than Iron Man 2 and 3. And even like Captain America Winter Soldier, I think it was just like maybe a little bit below the first Iron Man Captain America Winter Soldier. The other thing too is, again, as what I mentioned earlier, this movie doesn't tie in with anything else going on in the universe. This we're not going to, I mean, you'll see a couple of the characters pop up and maybe like a little bit about the Black Widow, the widows, being all around the globe will come up. Maybe, probably not. Maybe in one of the television series it's not going to be in a movie. This was introducing, this was saying goodbye to Black Widow and introducing Yelena. And that's what this was. And it was a standalone spy movie featuring comic book characters. And that's what it was. And, expecting, a Civil War level epic or, something that would be presented in one of the Avengers movies is disingenuous to what a standalone Black Widow movie would be. It's just, that's not what it was. That's not what it was ever intended to be. And the fact that it just had Black Widow, she's not going to carry a helicarrier crashing or any, like, or
Yeah.
a army, an army of aliens fighting against an army of, people from Wakanda with 20 other superheroes. And like, it's just,
it's an interesting way to put it. I think that the thing you said that most resonated was that this was a goodbye to Black Widow and the, bringing up of Yelena.
Yeah.
I hadn't quite thought of it that way. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it's weird being the first Phase 4 movie. Like this is Phase 3B, if anything. Like
Sure.
it's just if you're not going to put it in where it should have been made, if you're not going to make it when it should have been made, which they should have done, that's the big problem.
Sure.
If you're going to make it after we know that she's dead, that's not you can't say, oh, this is kicking off Phase 4, and because that's going to set expectations of just something that I did not have the expectations that it would be a big, huge kickoff for Phase 4. So it was it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but my expectations were just that, okay, well, this is the coda for Black Widow, So
all right. Well,
sense.
Susan, any other thoughts that you would add to your viewing of Black Widow?
No, I mean, I think we all kind of hit everything that it was in my mind to say about it. I think that, not knowing what to expect was kind of a bonus for me because I wasn't expecting it to be something huge and big, some epic. I wasn't expecting it to be anything.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I know that the trailers for me, when they first started appearing, made it feel bigger than what it actually ended up becoming. But at the same time, there were a lot of story elements that I really enjoyed. There were pieces of it that for me dragged a bit, but at the end of the day, we got our Black Widow movie, and it falls neatly into, or maybe not so neatly, into the world of the MCU. So here on Real to Real Talk, we have a 5 taco rating system that we use to rate movies that we review. 5 tacos is the most that a movie can get, but if you want to show it some extra love, you can throw in some guac. And so we will begin with Paul, your thoughts and your ratings on Black Widow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid 4. I don't know that I would ever, there's not too many Marvel movies that I would give less than 4. And this, this was not like, oh, I loved it. It was definitely like this. It was very satisfying. It sated my overwhelming hunger for a Marvel movie, and it'll carry me over until Shang-Chi comes out in September. So.
All right.
Yep. 4.
Excellent. 4 tacos from Paul. Susan?
Wait, I have to do my Svetlana.
Yes. Do it.
Okay, hang on. I guess I will say it has 3 tacos with guac. That's not even the best I can do. I don't do better than that.
I've heard so much better.
So you heard so much better. It's hard to take taco in Russian accent. I say 3 tacos with guac because I feel like there could be so much. So I'm going French now. Okay, I don't know where I don't know what I'm doing. This is terrible.
You put her on the spot.
Why you gonna do this to me? It started with never mind.
man.
There,
Okay.
but like yeah. So
Okay.
3 tacos with guac, and we'll talk later.
All right. Thank you, Susan Svetlana.
Sorry.
That's all right.
In Russia, accent does not mess up. You mess up accent.
Your ears mess accent.
There,
Your
yes.
ears not get it. It's fine. we forgive. We forgive your ears broken. We don't like it broken.
Broken.
It's not my
Oh,
voice.
my goodness.
It's
All
not
right.
my accent.
All right. Well, for myself, again, painted by my own views of the MCU in its current state. 3 solid tacos for Black Widow. I enjoyed it. It's and for me, it's like it's always the measure. Will I go back and watch it again? Many of the MCU movies I would. This is not one of them. But again, no disrespect to the character. Scarlett Johansson will forever be, and with good reason, tied to this character as one of the single biggest accomplishments of her career. And I'll tell you, and I've said it before on this show, that when the character met her end, in Endgame, it was one of those moments where I was like, I think I feel.
I just got to say that WW84 was one of the biggest turds I've ever watched in my entire life. And the idea that Bifford the Hobbit is saying WW84 was better than Black Widow is just, I don't even know how to even process that, because WW84 was nigh unwatchable. It was a giant mess of a movie. And no.
We all have our opinions, and we're thankful that people share theirs.
Sure.
So.
Share your opinion. I will call you out when you say something insane like WW84 was remotely watchable, let alone better than Black Widow.
All right. You'll never get anything less but Paul's exact thoughts. So, all right.
Go do an F9 WW84 watch party and see how many people show up. Like that'd be great. Oh my God.
I'll buy tickets. All right. So that brings us to the conclusion of our look at Black Widow. You can find it on Disney Plus in their premium service, and of course, movie theaters, which is where I would say you got to go see it on a theater screen. I will see it again. I should correct myself because I do want to see it on the big screen just to get a full effect of the film itself. But don't take our opinions for it. Get out there, watch it, and tell us what you think. You can do so on our Facebook page. Make sure you go on over to Real Talk on Facebook. You can see what we've been up to, what our past shows are all about, and make sure you follow us there and keep up with us on Facebook at Real Talk. You can also find us on Instagram. All of our past show posters are there, and other content that we've shared there on Instagram. And of course, we thank you for watching us on YouTube. We are starting a big subscription push, so we invite you, if you haven't already, please go to YouTube, click subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when episodes happen week to week. And you can also go back and watch past episodes on YouTube. Real Talk, look for us there. We also like it if you like the episodes and comment your thoughts on them. All right. Well, we will start this week's segment the way we always do, and that's to go to Paul and find out what the hell did you watch this week?
So, what the hell did I just watch this week? Okay, so one of my favorite filmmakers when I was a kid growing up, and was an early influence in me liking movies, like beyond just like, you're going to go see a movie, was Terry Gilliam. Who started in it got his start in the Monty Python. He was the lone American among the group, and he was the guy who did all the animations and that sort of thing from the Monty Python show. And then he went on and made insane fun movies like Time Bandits, which is absolutely in my top 50 all-time movies. Made Brazil, which is just a bonkers off the wall movie, which if I hadn't seen it before would absolutely have been already done in this segment. I try to just do brand new movies that I've not seen before. So otherwise I definitely would have done Brazil before.
Great film.
12 Monkeys, which, I mean, come on, 12 Monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. And he also spent 25 years trying to make Don Quixote, and he just never. There was a documentary about Terry Gilliam's inability to make Don Quixote. He's had 2 different Don Quixotes die on him. People who he had cast and was ready to make movies with. He'd actually started filming a Don Quixote movie with Johnny Depp playing the Sancho Panza role. And that was the basis of the documentary. And he finally completed the film that he wanted to make. And it's called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. And I had a hard time with this one. So I'm getting it out early. I don't know if I believe that this was the Don Quixote movie he always wanted to make. I feel like his experience in trying to make Don Quixote made him make a movie that was not Don Quixote, because a movie I would have liked to have seen was Terry Gilliam's Don Quixote. I think that would have been fascinating and fun and interesting. The movie that we got was someone who isn't Terry Gilliam trying to making a movie called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote as a college student, as a college film that like kind of has, you know, some cult popularity, which propels him to become a, you know, well-respected director who then goes back to make a Don Quixote movie. And then while he's making the Don Quixote movie, he has to reconcile with his past, and none of it has anything to do with Don Quixote. The story, but much more Terry Gilliam's very own struggles at tilting at windmills to make Don Quixote. And it just, that's not the movie I wanted. So I'm just going to, it had some really fun Terry Gilliam things about it, not remotely enough. Like Terry Gilliam is just supposed to be fun and supposed to be offbeat and supposed to be weird. But this was very much Terry Gilliam trying to make something somewhat autobiographical without actually being even remotely autobiographical. And it was just weird. It was just a weird viewing experience. If you like Terry Gilliam, I would say definitely check it out. I don't know. I struggled with this one. I
have seen the ad for it flash on Prime so often, and I've always been curious.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually more curious. So.
Yeah. This is another movie where like so often happens with this segment where I loved like the first 30 minutes of it. Like I was so excited about the first 30 minutes, and I just it went off in directions that I'm like, wait, what? This is not like, this doesn't, it just, yeah.
It was it's another film you can say that you saw Olga Kurylenko in, because she was in that movie as well.
Oh, cool. There you go.
There you go.
Yes. So she would have been Dulcinea. So, although not Dulcinea, the woman who played Dulcinea, who then becomes Dulcinea, but not really Dulcinea. See,
that sounded like Terry Gilliam.
Yes. The fun thing about this movie, it definitely was a movie within a movie within a movie within a movie. Like there were literally 4 levels of movie within a movie going on, but it almost is like he doesn't commit to that, and and he just lets he lets the Adam Driver character do too much. Like he drives the story. It's like, let this, like, that's the cool thing about Terry Gilliam movies, is that it's so much about the surroundings driving the character. Even the Adventures of Baron von Munchausen is very much all these things happening around these characters and how these characters react to all these crazy things happening around them. Whereas this one very much felt like Adam Driver's character driving the movie. And it was just like, no, let the shit happen around him and things fall where they may. And that's when it's the best. And there are elements of that here. And that's when the movie is the best. But yeah, so check it out. It's weird. It is definitely weird. It definitely fits in with the there's lots of weird stuff that happens. But just if you say, you know what, I'm only going to watch one Terry Gilliam movie, just make it Time Bandits and be happy.
Time Bandits is amazing.
Sean Connery. Come on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, such a great film. All right. Well, thank you, Paul, as always, for bringing us all kinds of weirdness.
Yes.
You can find The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I know it's listed on Prime. Is it a particular channel or?
No, it's just like it's available on Prime. If you have Prime, you can watch it, and yeah, it's free and it's awesome, and it's there.
And there you go.
Is it Prime or Hulu? I watched it on Hulu.
Was it Hulu? Okay.
It's on Hulu right now, free.
All right, there
Hulu,
you go.
Free.
So make sure you check it out and form your own opinions, and make sure you come back week to week to find out what kind of weirdness Paul is bringing to us on What the Hell Did I Just Watch. Thank you again, Paul.
Absolutely.
It's time now to find out what Susan finally saw. Susan, wow us. What'd you watch?
Well, this is going to be fun. So remember, I was all like, oh, I've only watched like 2 or 3 of those MCU movies. And then I was like, corrected myself. I changed the number in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Because I decided I was going to watch a Marvel movie just as in good spirit. I watched Iron Man.
The first one. Nice.
The first one from 2008. Like,
sure. Good place to start.
Wow. Okay. That was a whole level of ridiculousness that was just awesome. Like the best. So it kind of did push the button, I guess, for me, where I was like, maybe this wouldn't be so bad. And then Sergio was all talking about it. He's all like, oh yeah, 22 movies. And I was like,
you got time?
On second thought.
It's
maybe.
Like do one a month. You'll get there.
2 years.
Sure.
Okay. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. I love Robert Downey Jr. I love the way that he's like he took the ridiculousness and ran with it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
I don't think I could picture anybody else doing it quite as well as he did. I mean, that's my whole thing. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. There was definitely times that I was like, wait, but I don't know about all of that. And I don't think I didn't like Jeff Bridges as a bad guy.
Okay.
But I mean, to me,
it's a good heel turn. It's a good heel turn.
That's true.
Is.
That's true.
It
I was just kind of like
Hulk Hogan joining the NWO. It's like, what?
Oh, Paul.
Wow. Don't talk to me. Do not talk to me about wrestling.
I'll be doing my wrestling shit in about half an hour.
Yes.
All right. Well, so
me?
I have to tell you, I'm glad you watched it. It is a fun film. One of my absolute favorite moments are the moments with the robot as he's building the suit.
Yes.
With
yes.
with the extinguisher. So just fun, just a fun movie all around.
That's an even better character in the second movie.
Yeah.
By the way, like the robot is like.
So you should keep going.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Well, week to week, you can find out what Susan has added to her cache of movies that she has seen, and we'll look forward to seeing what you're going to bring us next week. Susan, thank you for your installment this week. It's time now for Real Time Rewind. I told you guys this month I'm going to talk about journalistic thrillers. Is the topic for the month of August, maybe July. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
There is a movie that came out in 2003. It has a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which actually surprised me because of the star of the film. But it's, I understand it now, having read some stuff on it earlier. It's not the main star of the film, which is Hayden Christensen, that got that 92%. It was Peter Sarsgaard, who's an additional character in the film that's the antagonist. It's a movie called Shattered Glass. This movie is a movie that depicts the happenings around Stephen Glass, who was a writer for the New Republic that was caught plagiarizing and basically just fraudulently writing articles for the New Republic. 27 of his 41 articles that he wrote for the New Republic were eventually proven to have been falsifications, all kinds of, So it's a really well-documented case in the world of journalism. One of probably the single most, the worst case of this type of happening in all of journalism. And this is the depiction of the waning days of Stephen Glass and how he was found out and all of the subsequent events that occurred. Hayden Christensen, if you ever want to change your mind about him a little bit, if you only know him from the Star Wars movies, he does a decent job. This is a portrayal that if you know the history and you've read the articles and the what's been written about Stephen Glass, then he does a good job of playing this character. But it's Peter Sarsgaard as his editor, the one who uncovers all the wrongdoing, that just steals the show. He earned a Golden Globe nomination for this performance. And the cast itself, is a little bit of I don't want to say B team who's who, but there's definitely familiar faces that play throughout this film that really make it an enjoyable movie. Very talky, as what a movie about journalism would be, but very compelling dialogue. You can you'll see Steve Zahn, Hank Azaria, Rosario Dawson, Chloe Sevigny. Yeah, it's just a great cast. It's very well put together. The dialogue pieces are phenomenal, and the way in which it just amps up throughout the entirety of the film as it reaches its climax, and then finishes out. It's just I really enjoy it, and I think not enough people have seen it. It only made just short of $3 million in the theaters, but it is heralded as a very, very good depiction of journalistic integrity and what it looks like when people don't have it. And so I would recommend folks check out Shattered Glass, and I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. So
it's free on Amazon Prime right now. So
yes, it is.
You know what I'm watching tomorrow.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to hearing what you thought, Paul.
Just follow me on Letterboxd.
There you go.
I'll put it up there soon enough.
Indeed. That is this week's Real-Time Rewind. And I tell you guys, we really, I love what you guys bring week to week. I try not to look at where you guys put titles of what you're going to talk about, because I like being surprised, and I hope that the listeners do too as well.
There you go.
All right, we're going to go right into this week's real quick reviews, and we're going to talk about a documentary that has quite a story behind it. The movie is called Summer of Soul, available on Hulu. And the idea here was this documentary put together by Questlove was basically a collection of footage from the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival in Harlem, New York.
Yeah,
and
5 weeks of bands coming and playing in a little park in Harlem.
Yeah, and the idea here was that this footage was shot, but then put away, and nothing was ever done with it.
And not for lack of trying.
Right.
Not for lack of trying. Just there were no buyers. Nobody was buying.
No one wanted it. No one wanted to distribute it or have anything to do with it being put together. This movie, as soon as I saw the trailer, I messaged you guys. I'm like, RQR. I really enjoyed and was again, I love historical documentaries.
Yes.
And so much happens or happened in 1968, 1969. This was a festival that took place around the same time that we landed a man on the moon.
Yep.
And there's talk about,
a few weeks before Woodstock.
Exactly. I really enjoyed it. I was reminded of some fantastic music that I had not really, encountered in quite a few years. And the story that it told, I thought was very compelling. And so, I want to hear your thoughts on this film and what y'all thought about as you watched it.
So I've been kind of on a music documentary kick as of late. And I wasn't sure. I didn't know what to expect really, like, going into it, but I really loved the way everything's put together. I love the like you said, the little snippets of music that it's like, oh yeah, oh man. And it made me want to go look and try to find more music kind of and make like a little Spotify playlist of my own, which I have not done yet, but I will eventually. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was fantastic. And I think I learned more than I was expecting to, maybe a little bit.
That we know so much about what was going on in Woodstock, and literally Questlove had never even heard of this festival. It's like, I don't know how much people need to understand how marginalized the African American community is in the United States, and how it's not just a question of, oh well, they were in slavery for 200 years, and it's just a culmination of systematic elimination of their cultural impact and historical impact on our country. And this is just another, like, I'm watching this documentary. I'm like, I'm watching Stevie Wonder play drums. Didn't know Stevie Wonder knew how to play drums.
Yeah.
I mean,
a young Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder's playing fucking drums.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
favorite band in high school, that was not the Beatles. My second favorite band in high school, I was a huge classic rock guy. Okay, so like, and before, like, my favorite bands have fluctuated often, but number one has always been the Beatles. Number two, for the longest time, was Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh yeah.
I was literally obsessed with Sly and the Family Stone. I had no idea. I just never heard of this. No idea about it. I've seen the Woodstock movie because I knew Sly and the Family Stone were at Woodstock. No idea about this, and I later found out in an interview, because after watching this I was like, oh well, I gotta like find out as much as I can about this fucking thing. Questlove, his next movie project is going to be a documentary on Sly and the Family Stone.
Nice.
And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we need, because the quote, and I'm paraphrasing the quote a little bit here, that Questlove gave in the interview that I listened to, was that seeing this particular performance of Sly and the Family Stone is like seeing the start of a car accident in slow motion, because it's that start of the car accident in slow motion is not you don't actually get to see the crash. It's just like you're seeing things set up before a crash, and then like Sly and the Family Stone becomes huge and then vanishes, like gone, just gone. And because Sly, let's just, he goes a little crazy, but why and how? And it's like, so this is like the first frame of watching that car accident, and so he's making the documentary, and then all the other musical acts, the Fifth Dimension. And I always thought, like, I genuinely never knew that the Fifth Dimension was entirely an African-American group. I thought it was like a mixed race group. I thought there was, it was just a very like hippie love everybody, and so it just had a lot of different people. No, it's all African-Americans. Who knew? I didn't know. Yeah. I've never like went out and looked for a picture of the Fifth Dimension, and to see them up there playing, and just to see the Latin influence come in, and it's like this documentary. Everybody needs to see this. It's so important. I can't. Absolutely. It's just. You need to learn history, and if you're not going to get it from, American classrooms, because we're not allowed to teach fucking critical race theory. Fuck you. You need to do it through the media, other sources of media like this, and learn and know what's going on, because absolutely. This is, it's Stevie Wonder playing drums, and like what.
Yeah, and I was mentioning a young Stevie Wonder. He was sort of at the beginning of his career, and I have long been a fan of Gladys Knight and the Pips. I've always had a big crush on Gladys Knight.
Yeah,
and to see her and the Pips,
pipping
it out. It was such a beautiful portion of that documentary. The inclusion of all of the the spiritual groups, and Sly and the Family Stone. It was just this great amalgam of musicians, and this moment in history that, when you know the background of why this film was made and finally put together, that it could have been lost to history. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for Questlove, and his desire to make this, to put the spotlight on this event as the important thing that it is. And this is, for me, I don't know how y'all feel, but this is the kind of film that should receive some form of award, award.
It has to be nominated. I am flat out telling you right now, if it does not get nominated for Best Documentary, I am going to absolutely lose my shit, and I am done with the Oscars forever, and I love the fucking Oscars. But if it doesn't win, okay, whatever. But if it doesn't get nominated, it has to be nominated. It has to be nominated.
And absolutely.
This is such an important cultural.
It is, and it's something that I don't know how to say this. I hope this comes out right. You don't have to be a fan of this type of music to get into this documentary. I love all types of music, this, from the moment that, the first strains of the first band come on, I'm just sucked into it and you're watching the energy of the people in the audience and the gentleman who is the host, and I couldn't take my eyes off the screen.
I would watch a documentary on that dude.
Exactly.
The organizer.
Yeah.
He sounds crazy.
Yeah, and very interesting, and so many people who spoke at the event, and I mean, it was
Jeffrey
just
Jackson was
and so it's a beautiful film. I can't imagine what it must have been like, and we get some fantastic interviews from people who were attendees at this event. Another big part of this film. You got to watch Summer of Soul, guys. If you're watching this show,
watch it. Yeah,
you got to watch Summer of Soul. It's on Hulu.
It's the easiest mark for 5+ guac that has ever been on here. This might,
This was a 5+ guac for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 5 tacos plus guac across the board for Summer of Soul. You can find it on Hulu. Make sure you find it. These are the kinds of films that we need to continue to be produced. We've seen a slew of them over the last couple of years, and I think the point you made, Paul, a moment ago is so important, that this may very well be a medium in which this is the only time we'll see this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I hope not, but thank goodness for filmmakers.
Yeah, seriously.
And definitely go out of your way, look for interviews with Questlove about the making of this, because he's done a couple and they're fascinating. It's really interesting to hear some of the stuff that he's talking about on how it came about and stuff. So
this movie defines the term passion project. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Indeed. All right. Well, guys, don't forget, you can find us on Facebook. Check us out, Real to Real Talk. We thank you for being fans of the show, friends of the show. Get on over to Real Talk on Facebook. Give us a like and follow us there. You can also find us on Instagram. Check us out at Real to Real Talk, and you can see what all is going on. We thank you for joining us. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you. Don't forget, click subscribe. Click that notification bell, give us a like, give us a comment, and we'll keep doing this until the wheels fall off. Paul, Susan, as always, it's always fun. I know I say that every week, and I'm going to continue to. I'm already looking forward to next week.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Indeed. All right. Well, to all of you, from all of us, we hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.
Spoiler alert, Fear Street.
Yes. Fear Street, Netflix.
Not for Susan. But I'll tell you, you don't need to watch those ones, Susan.
But I challenge you to. So, as I was saying, we hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. We look forward to having you with us next week. But until then, remember, we always tell you, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are